We begin tonight with Iran's retaliation for the U.S. killing of its top military commander, Qasem Soleimani. More than a dozen of ballistic missiles were launched earlier today against two Iraqi military bases hosting American military personnel. Footage released by Iranian media show a number of missiles being fired into the sky. Explosions can also be seen from the distance. Iran's Revolutionary Guards on Wednesday acknowledged the attack. In a tweet, U.S. President Donald Trump says casualty and damage assessments are ongoing and that it is, quote, so far so good. Trump says he will be making a statement on the Iranian strikes eventually. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has barred U.S. pilots and carriers from flying in areas of Iraq, Iran, the Persian Gulf, and Gulf of Oman, citing possible misidentification. Shortly after the announcement, a Ukrainian airliner crashed near an airport in Tehran, killing all 176 people on board. Ukraine's embassy in Iran says the Boeing 737 jet suffered engine failure, ruling out terrorism as a cause.
With a mandatory repatriation of OFWs in Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon now in place, senior labor officials will be flying to Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and the UAE to brief OFWs regarding their repatriation.
They will bring with them a RRT, or the Rapid Response Team, so that they could immediately brief our OFWs there of the situation and the action that our department, together with other departments, will take.
Dulles records show there are more than 2 million documented OFWs in the affected region. The Labor Department will use its 2019 repatriation budget worth 100 million pesos. This is apart from the allocation under the 2020 budget,
which we already remitted to the different Philippine Overseas Labor Office in those countries which I mentioned. Kaya wala tayong problema sa pagkain at sa medisina.
The Labor Department is also fast-tracking its coordination with China, Japan, Russia, Canada, and Germany, where OFWs can be deployed.
We will not only provide them financial assistance, we will give them livelihood assistance, we will give them alternative employment abroad.
Meanwhile, an automatic deployment ban is in place in Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. Relatives who wish to check in on their OFW families can call Dulles Crisis Management Center hotline. The Philippine Embassy in Iraq has earlier announced the mandatory evacuation of OFWs.
Ang pamahalaan ng Pilipinas ay handang magpauwi ng sinumang Pilipino na maapektuhan ng kasalukuyang krisis sa rehiyon.
Now for OFWs who won't abide the mandatory repatriation order, Bello has this message.
Kahit na gaano kaganda ng buhay nila doon, hindi mo matitiyak ang kanilang kaligtasan. So, we would like to appeal to them na umuwi muna. Pagka gumanda ang panahon, di bumalik na sila kung gusto nila.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
Close to 1,600 Filipinos in Iraq will be evacuated amid the rising tension in the Middle East. And Environment Secretary Simatu will personally head the repatriation as he flies to Qatar Thursday morning. However, they have yet to decide on the mode of transportation for the evacuees.
If the airport in Baghdad is still open, then they will use that. However, if it is not open, they have two options by land. Going to Amman, Jordan, and the other one is going also to the north, to Erbil, where there are some, there's an airport there that can go to either to Dubai or to Qatar for eventual flight from Manila.
Traveling by land will take 10 hours, with the embassy in Baghdad serving as the meeting place for evacuees. Buses will then transport them to Dubai, which will be the central logistic base.
We have to put the Philippine flag there para makita that they are not, we're just going out, we're just traveling, going to Amman, Jordan, and we are Filipinos.
Commercial planes are still available, but there are considerations.
In the event that there are no airports, it is closed, and it is dangerous naman kung they will not allow also maglanding yung mga, kung halimbawa, yung ating armed forces plane pupuntahan doon. If the airport is closed, you cannot use it. So we have to find another airport nearest, and we have to bring them to the nearest airport by bus.
But there's one more problem, especially for Filipinos who married nationals from the Middle East.
Hindi naman ina-allow kasi automatic yung lalaki, but the Filipinos kasi ang passport holder lang nang pwede makalabas eh. So these are the problems of a family.
2 C-130, 1 C-295 aircraft, and 2 landing ships are on standby from the Department of National Defense. 2 battalions from the Armed Forces of the Philippines will be sent to the Middle East to aid repatriation efforts.
They're still preparing the troops. Tapos si Secretary Locsin naman ay nakikipag-negotiate, nakikipag-ugnayan sa mga ibang bansa doon kung ano pa yung kailangang mga papeles para pumasok yung mga tao natin.
Meanwhile, the Budget Department assures enough funds to bring home OFWs, with 1.8 billion pesos allocated under the 2020 budget.
The government is ready. There's any call for the repatriation of our overseas Filipino workers.
From the said amount, 1.29 billion is under the Department of Foreign Affairs, while 600 million is with Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, BR1 News.
Now, in times of crisis like this, an agency with a lone hand on Filipinos overseas would do a great deal of help, believes House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano. That's why, according to him, the creation of a department for OFWs will be a top priority in the next 3 months. Cayetano says different government agencies won't be able to fully prioritize OFWs no matter how diligent they are because of their respective duties. As a former Foreign Affairs Secretary, Cayetano deems it necessary to have a department that will focus on OFWs.
Masipag man ang Department of Foreign Affairs, may iba din silang trabaho. Masipag man si Sec Bello ng Dole, may iba din siyang trabaho. Expert man si Sec Simatu sa Middle East at kung paano maglikas ng mga Pilipino doon, may iba din siyang trabaho. No? So napaka-importante na may full-time tayo secretary na walang ginawa kundi welfare at OFWs concerns.
But we're not just the only ones sounding the alarm. World leaders have also started to air concerns over rising tensions in the Middle East, most of them calling for restraint. Canada's Chief Defense Staff, Jonathan Vance, tweeted that all military forces deployed in the Gulf region are safe and accounted for, but assures Canadian forces remain vigilant following the attacks. India, meanwhile, cautions its citizens against non-essential travels to Iraq until further notice. Indian nationals living in Iraq are also warned against unnecessary travel within the Gulf state. Over in East Asia, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe canceled his own scheduled trip to the Middle East due to the turmoil. Japan seeks a diplomatic solution to the matter. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is closely monitoring the situation, hoping to ensure the safety of its citizens in the Middle East. China, on the other hand, hopes the situation would cool down soon. The Asian giant, which has yet to finish its own trade tiff with the U.S., is reportedly in close contact with all parties in the Gulf region as it hopes to play a major role in easing tensions in the Middle East.
当前中东的事态高度关切，海湾地区局势进一步恶化，不符合任何一方的利益，确保该地区的和平稳定对全世界都至关重要。